So, what is going on YouTube? This is Sam from Team SamHamTV here, and today guys, I'm coming at you guys with a Dinomist deck profile for you guys today. So I really hope you guys enjoy this deck profile. And guys, as I progress through the deck profile, I'll be explaining to you guys some of my card choices that I decided to play in the deck and the reasons why I play them. So without further ado guys, let's go with this amazing Dinomist deck profile. And of course guys, if you guys haven't yet checked out my YuGiOh Pro dual commentary, where I actually play tested this deck against YuGiOh's Evil Swarm, you guys should definitely check it out. I'll leave a link in the description box below, so if you guys check out that video and give that video a thumbs up, that would be absolutely amazing guys. So without further ado, let's get started with this Dinomist deck profile guys. Let me tell you guys right now, this deck is absolutely amazing. It's super fun to play with, and of course it's super budget friendly. And of course guys, aside from picking up extra cards like Panzer Dragon Infinity and things like that, the deck core is relatively inexpensive at all. So basically, aside from pteran being a rare and of course Dinomist Rex being a super rare, the whole entire deck is common. So if you guys want to invest in this deck, you guys could, you can literally get the whole entire deck core for under like $15–20. So this deck is just absolutely amazing guys. So without further ado, let's get started with this deck profile. So during Sneak Peek, I actually pulled Triple Rex, and I was like, you know what, this is a calling from Dinomist deck for me to play this deck. You know what, I was like, you know what, I gotta pick it up for you guys and just build this deck for you guys. So without further ado, let's get started with the monster. Starting with the monster, of course, you play Triple Dinomist Rex. This card is absolutely amazing, guys. This card is so good. So let me show you guys all of the level 5s that I play first, then I'll explain to you guys each of their effects and what they do. So of course you play a Triple Rex. Make sure that it's in the frame there. Triple Rex, can we zoom it out? Perfect. So Triple Rex, you do play Triple Ceratops, and of course you play a Triple Brachion. These cards are absolutely amazing. These are the only level 5s that recently has just been released in Breakers of the Shadows. So let me explain to you guys each of their effects. So Brachion is amazing. Look at that. The purple snake, and of course the Ceratops. Amazing. So let me explain to you guys Dinomist Rex first. Dinomist Rex has the effect where if this card attacks, at the end of the damage step, you contribute one other Dinomist monster on the field, and you can activate one of these effects. This card can make a second attack on your opponent's monsters in a row, and if it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So basically, if he attacks your opponent, as long as he attacks, at the end of the damage step, you contribute another Dinomist monster you control, and then it can make a second attack, and if it happens to attack the defense position monster, it inflicts piercing damage. This effect is alright, I guess, but the effect that we're looking for right now is such an amazing effect. So basically, his second effect is literally a built-in ignister. So I said it, guys. This card is literally an ignister on crack. So basically, his effect is that you can shuffle one card from your opponent's hand at random or on your opponent's side of the field into the deck. This card then gains 100 attack. So basically what happens at this point is that if he attacks at the end of the damage step, you contribute another Dinomist monster you control. You can literally shuffle back one card in your opponent's hand or on the field into the deck, and this card does not target. So that's what's really good about Dinomist Rex. It does not target, so you can basically bounce back the Cosmo Dark Destroyer or things like that. So Dinomist Rex is really amazing for that purpose. And of course, he then gains 100 attack, which makes him 2500 beater. So Rex is really great for that purpose, and he's the only holo in the deck, so this deck is relatively inexpensive to get. So Dinomist Rex is absolutely amazing. So Triple Rex you play, and of course next you play Triple Ceratops and Triple Brachion. These cards are really good because they're essentially a free special summon in the deck. They have their built-in effects where they're able to special summon themselves. So Brachion, if your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack, and if you do not control a Brachion on the field already, you can special summon this card from your hand. So basically, let's say you're going second and your opponent has a monster on the field and you have no monsters at all. This card essentially becomes a Cyber Dragon in the deck. So you special summon this card, he's a Cyber Dragon. And of course, Ceratops has an amazing effect where if all your Dinomist monsters you control, if all monsters you control are Dinomist monsters, minimum 1, and you do not control a Dinomist Ceratops, you can special summon this card from your hand. So basically, if you're going second and you have these two cards in your hand, you can special summon Brachion if your opponent has a monster on board, and then you can activate Ceratops effect to special summon Ceratops. At this point, you can proceed into the battle phase and attack for 21 damage and 2000 damage, or you can overlay at this point into your Cyber Dragon Infinity or things like that. So these cards are essentially free summons in the deck. So let me explain to you guys what's really cool about Dinomist. So of course, let me explain to you guys the scale. So you have the 6 scale and you have the 3 scale, okay guys? So the 6 scales are right here. 6 scales are like Brachion, Rex and things like that, and you have your 3 scales. So this deck, what I really love about this deck is that this deck has their own built-in game mechanic where they're always able to protect themselves from being destroyed by battle or being destroyed by card effects, and you know, even being targeted by your opponent's card effects. So basically, all three scales have the effect where if the three scales in your pendulum zone, and if your Dinomist monster is going to be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can destroy the three scale instead. So that's what's really good about Ceratops. It not only Ceratops, but your three scales. It helps you protect your monster from being destroyed by battle or by card effects. And of course, your six scales, the effect states that once while this card is face up in your opponent's pendulum zone, you can negate an activation of a card effect that targets another Dinomist cards you control, then destroy this card. So basically, this card, six scale stops your opponent from targeting, and of course, three scale stops your opponent from stops your card from being destroyed by destruction. So that's what's really good about the three scales and six scales. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for my information on the scales in this deck. And of course, guys, the really good thing about this deck is that, you know, it's basically immune to wavering eyes. So this card's amazing. So yeah, guys, so that's pretty much it for your level 5s. And let me tell you guys right now, when I talk about this deck being inexpensive, this deck is literally inexpensive. The whole entire deck core is super cheap. And let me talk to you guys about going to your rank 5 plays right now. So let me pull out my Cyber Dragon Infinity and of course the Nova at this point. Okay, so this deck is really good on going to rank 5 plays because you have, of course, 9 level 5 monsters in the deck. But let me tell you guys right now, you do not always want to rush into going your XYZs. And the reason being is because you always want to have Dinomist monsters in your extra deck, as many as possible. Because you know what, usually if you have your 2 scales, let's say you have these 2 scales, and you bring these 2 out, and you go into your Cyber Dragon Infinity, and your opponent has an out to Cyber Dragon Infinity, at this point, all your scales will go to the graveyard, and all your pendulum monsters will go to the graveyard. Since Cyber Dragon Infinity is destroyed, then at this point, you have nothing in your extra deck for you to pendulum out next turn. So, you know what, going to your XYZs requires a lot of resources, if you guys were to say, because you know what, sometimes you always need your Dinomist monsters to be in your extra deck, rather than always going to your XYZ plays. So, the more smarter play that you guys could do is, you know what, you should go into your XYZs as long as you have more than 3 or 4 Dinomist cards in your extra deck, so that way that next turn, if your opponent were able to out your XYZ, you can always pendulum out the other monsters in your extra deck. So you know what, you don't always want to waste your resources going to your XYZ plays, because you know what, that can hurt you in the long run, since it requires a lot of resources to go into your XYZs. And of course, if you don't have an extra deck cards in your extra deck, you basically lose in Dinomist. So that's my insight on me going to XYZ in this deck. Usually, if I open up, let's say this in my hand first turn, or it doesn't matter, as long as I open up like Dinomist, like it doesn't matter what you open up, but as long as you have your scales, and let's say you have 2 other Dinomist cards you control, you want to pendulum summon these out, and in my personal opinion, I'll just end my turn from there and just set a couple back rows, things like that. Because at this point, if Rex were able to get destroyed, I can always pendulum Rex back next turn, and of course, Rex will barely get destroyed because, you know, you have cards like Ceratops and Brachion that protect your monsters from being targeted or being destroyed by card effects or things like that. So that's really good. But instead, if you go into Infinity, you're already wasting 2 of your Dinomist monsters that you could have in your extra deck. So you don't always want to rush into your Cyber Dragon Infinity. And of course, Cyber Dragon Infinity, don't get me wrong, is an amazing card. But you know what? Trust me, guys, it's not that great because your opponent has a lot to out to it. So especially against Pepe, all they have to do is just bait out by going to Castel and just, you know, bounce back. Yeah, all they have to do is just bait out your Infinity by going Castel or like Direwolf, and then you're forced to negate it. So things like that. So you don't always want to rush into going your XYZ plays. So that's my insight on going to XYZ plays, because it requires a lot of resources for you to waste into going your XYZs. You want to already establish resources already in your extra deck before you go into your XYZs. So that's just my personal opinion on why you don't always want to rush until you're going to your Cyber Infinity and things like that. So that's pretty much it for level 5s. Let's go up to level 4s real quick. You want to play Triple pteran, amazing. This card is basically the searcher of the deck. Pteran, if it destroys opponent's monster by battle, you can add 1 Dinomist card from your deck to your hand. So you can basically search a spell, a trap, or any of the monsters right here. So pteran is amazing for that purpose. And of course, this is one of my favorite Dinomist monsters. You play triple Dinomist plesios. Guys, I'm so sorry guys if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. I believe it's Dinomist plesios. This card is absolutely amazing. This card has the effect where all face-up monster your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each Dinomist cards you control. And especially if you open up a scale and plesios, you're already guaranteed your opponent to already lose 300 attack and defense because it counts as itself. So let's say you scale, special summon, of course, the plesios. This card can essentially beat anything that's that's 2,000 attack or less. So Plesios is really great for that purpose. And of course, guys, he essentially makes your Rex alive. So let's say that you have your scales right here and right there already. You pendulum summon Plesios and Rex. At this point, Rex can beat over anything that's 2,800 or less because of Plesios. So Plesios is really, really good for that purpose. And believe it or not, guys, when your opponent loses attack and defense of monsters, it's really, really key. So Plesios is really great for that purpose. And of course, it's a 6 scales. You always want to see your scales as much as possible. So that's why I maximize myself. I'm playing triple Plesios and of course triple pteran. This card is amazing. It's only rare in the deck, guys. So this is the only rarity in the deck. You have Plesios and Dinomist Rex. So deck's super easy. The whole deck is just common. The whole deck core. So yeah. So triple pteran, and last but not least, you do play the double stegasaur. This card isn't as great, but the only reason why I play him is because he's a 3 scale. It's really, really good, and it's a level 4. It helps to go into your rank 4 XYZs. So stegosaurus is really, really good. But guys, to be honest, I want to maximize myself playing 3. I play tested 3, and you don't need him as much. He's not that good. He has an alright effect where, you know, if another Dinomist monsters, if another pendulum monster you control battles and opponent monsters, you can destroy both monsters at the end of the damage step. So this card is really good for that purpose. But he's only good while charges on the field. But other than that, I only use him as a scale. So yeah, so double stegosaur. That's pretty much it for our monster lineup. I do not play any hand traps, things like that. It's because I want to see my scales as much as possible. I don't want to dead draw hand traps late or mid game or things like that. So if I do play maxis, it's either I play 3 maxis or no maxis at all, because you know what, 1 maxi or 2 maxi isn't really going to do anything against Pepe. You want to see maxis as much as possible. So I was like, you know what, I might as well decide to play the whole entire pure Dinomist engine rather than having to play maxis or veilers or things like that in the deck. So that's pretty much it for the monster lineup. You do play a pure Dinomist. And if you guys want to see a Dragon Slayer Dinomist deck profile, give this video 200 plus likes. Let's do it, guys. 200 plus likes for the Dragon Slayer Dinomist deck profile. It's super crazy, guys. I'm playtesting that deck right now, Dragon Slayer Dinomist. So if you guys can give this video 200 plus likes, I'll be showing you guys that deck profile as soon as possible. So of course, yep, that's pretty much it for the monsters. Now let's off to the spell cards. You play the best spell card in the deck, Dinomist Charge. This card is absolutely amazing. This card is basically a what is called a 10 key, and of course the second effect is phenomenal, guys. So his second effect basically states that once per turn, if a Dinomist card is added from the field to your extra deck face up, add one of those cards to your hand. You can only activate one of Dinomist Charge once per turn. So let's say you have Rex on board, and you have Charge on board, and then you have these 2 cards in your scales, okay? So let's say these 2 cards are your scales. Yep, perfect. So you enter battle phase, you attack with Rex, your opponent activates Mirror Force, okay? So your opponent activated Mirror Force. Then at this point, what you're going to do is that you're going to activate Ceratops effect, since it's a 3 scale. So you're going to activate Ceratops effect. It's a 3 scale to destroy Ceratops itself. Ceratops itself. Then the Dinomist Charge effect is going to activate to add Ceratops back to your hand. So basically, you're literally, like, this card is, like when I explained that this card is immune to Wavering Eyes, it is, because basically if your opponent Wavering Eyes this, you can activate Ceratops effect to destroy itself to protect Brachion, so that way your opponents will not get the Wavering Eyes search, and then Dinomist Charge will activate to add this card right back to your hand, and then you can essentially add it to your scale or special summon Ceratops, because Ceratops has built-in special summon effect, and at this point you can leave it as is, or you can go into Cyber Dragon Infinity at this point. So Charge is really great for that purpose. During testing, let's say I had double Charge on the board, and it was super crazy because what is it called? Yeah, so it's super crazy since I had these 2 scales, and of course the Rex, I believe. No, I had a Rex and a Plesios on board. So what happened at this point is that my opponent had double Mirror Force at this point. So basically, what happened at this point, since these are already on board, I didn't even bother activating Ceratops to protect the Mirror Force, since basically you had 2 charge. If your opponent Mirror Forces and you if your opponent Mirror Forces and you activate Dinomist Charge, Dinomist Ceratops or any other your 3 scales, and you have 2 charge on board, if you negate the Mirror Force and negate the destruction of Mirror Force, and you add the Ceratops to your extra deck, you're only gonna get the one search from your extra deck to your hand, since of course it affects states that if a Dinomist card is added from the field to your extra deck face up, add one of those cards to your hand. Since one was only sent to the graveyard, Dinomist charge is going to activate. Then, of course, another Dinomist charge is going to activate. Chain Link 2 will resolve first, adding this card to your hand. And, of course, since you have no other cards that will send from the field to the extra deck this turn, since Ceratops already added to your hand, charge will not get its effect to add another extra deck card to your hand. So, basically, what I did was that at this point is that when I attack, my opponent activate Mirror Force, I just let it go through. Like, to be honest, I just let it go through because I don't want that to happen. So, you know, these two went to my extra deck. Then charge activate, literally adding these two cards to my hand. And then, you know, next turn, and then during main phase 2, I just special summon these cards out again. So charge is really, really great for that purpose. And it also has a lot of synergy with some of the trap cards in this deck. So I'll explain to you guys later on the things like that. The trap lineup on why this card is just so good. The card is absolutely amazing, guys. It's immune to wavering eyes. So basically, you activate these two scales. Your opponent doesn't know what this deck does and happens to activate wavering eyes. You activate Ceratops effect to protect Brachion. Then charge will activate to add the Ceratops back to your hand. Then boom! Another free scales. Your opponent literally wasted a wavering eyes. So charge is amazing for that purpose. Next you play, of course, one Dinomic power load. This card is amazing. It's a field spell of the deck. All Dinomist monsters on the field gains 3 in attack and defense. And if a Dinomist monster you control battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect until the end of the damage step. So basically, your opponent against Cosmos, they can't activate anything as long as your Dinomist monster attacks. So Dinomic power load is absolutely is really, really good for that purpose. But the only downside about him is that he cannot be searched with, of course, pteran, since it is what is it called? Since it is Dinomic, not Dinomist, so pteran cannot add the power load. And the reason why I do not want to play 2 or more copies of him is because you can dead draw him a lot. You only need 1 to go off, so Dinomic Overload is really, really good. But you know what? I would only recommend playing 1 power load. Yeah, so 1 power load. If you guys want to play 2, you guys can go ahead and play 2. There's nothing wrong with playing 2, but it's just my personal opinion. I don't want to happen to dead draw this card during late or mid game. So I want to minimize myself only playing 1 Dinomic power load. So 1 power load. Next, of course, you play double instant fusion. Making Abyss Dweller is really, really good as well. So Instant Fusion is really, really great for that purpose. And of course, since all these cards are water monsters, Abyss Dweller will become 2700 attack. And of course, you do play the Panzer Dragon in the deck. So Panzer Dragon is this level 5 light monster, and it helps you go into your rank 5 place. So Instant Fusion into Panzer Dragon is really, really good. And of course, Instant Fusion to Panzer Dragon end phase, it'll get destroyed because of Instant Fusion. Panzer Dragon will be able to get to pop a card on the field. So Panzer Dragon is really good for that purpose. So double instant fusion. I do play the 1 limited removal. I do not have limited removal for some reason. I looked through my entire collection. I cannot find a limited removal, which is super, super weird. But this is 1 limited removal, guys. If you guys don't know what limited removal does, it basically doubles the attack of all machine type monsters on the field. And during the end phase, you destroyed all those machine monsters that was affected by this effect. So limited removal is really great for that purpose. Next, you play double wavering eyes. You don't want to maximize yourself on playing triple wavering eyes because sometimes it could be a dead draw. The only way you want to use this is when your opponent activate their scales, such as in the Pepe matchup. So wavering eyes is really, really good for that purpose. And it's only good when you draw for a handful of monsters. So wavering eyes is really good for that purpose. And it also interrupts your the Pepe matchup. So wavering eyes is amazing. Next, of course, you do play double Twin Twister. This card is phenomenal. It's your blowout card. This card is so good, guys. You don't understand how good Twin Twister is. In this format, guys, let me give you guys a tip. You guys do not only want to set 1 back row. So it's either you guys set, in this format, it's either you guys set 1 back row or 3 back row. You never ever set 2 back rows. As soon as you set 2 back rows, your opponent Twin Twister is now live. So you guys gotta play around Twin Twister. This card is phenomenal, and it's the reason why Heavy Storm is never gonna come back into the TCG. So Twin Twister is really amazing for that purpose. So that's pretty much it for the spells. Now off to our trap cards, our trap engine. I do play quite of a heavy trap trap lineup, but you know what? I felt like it's really, really important to play traps in this deck. I do not always want to force the OTK with this deck. This deck can OTK easily, but you know what? Having back rows is really, really important since I really want to compete into the meta as much as possible with this deck. So I'll show you guys all of the back row that I play. Of course, you play Triple Dinomist Rush. This card is phenomenal. It's literally a free monster in the deck. Special summon 1 Dinomist monster from your deck, and if you do, it's unaffected by other card effects. Also destroy it during the end phase. You can only activate 1 Rush per turn. So basically, Rush is literally another instant fusion for you to go into Panzer Dragon. It basically brings out any of your Dinomist monster from the deck, which is really good. So it helps you go into your rank 5 plays, rank 4 plays, and he's also able to add pressure on board by bringing out Rex or like pteran or things like that. And of course, Rush is really combos off really, really well with the Dinomist charge. So basically, at the end phase, if you activate Rush, if the monster on the field that brought out that was brought out is destroyed by the effect of Rush, you can activate Dinomist Charge's effect to add that extra deck monster right back into your hand. So Rush is really, really good for that purpose. And also going to, you know, board presence is really, really essential in Dinomist. So as long as you have a lot of board presence, this deck is really, really good. So Dinomist Rush just adds that extra board presence into the deck. So you're essentially playing 6 searchers in the deck. You're playing triple charge and triple rush, and these cards are essentially searchers of the deck. So Rush is really amazing for that purpose. Helps you put more pressure on board. It helps you go into your XYZ plays, which is really, really good. Next, of course, you do play double Mirror Force. This is mainly used as a surprise factor for your opponent. I really feel like, you know what, as I explained before, going to XYZs wastes a lot of resources in the deck. So you always want to protect your XYZs as much as possible. If you guys have, what is it called? If you guys have Story Mirror Force, you guys can definitely go ahead and play Story Mirror Force instead of Mirror Force. The Mirror Force is basically used as a surprise factor. This card is so underrated, guys. Not a lot of people give this deck, this card enough credit because Mirror Force is just too good. You know what? So your opponent will have a board of Ignister, Nat Beast, or things like that. You Mirror Force your opponent, and it's just like a wow factor that your opponent can't really deal with at this point. So Mirror Force is really, really good for that purpose. So double Mirror Force, and protecting your affinity is really key. So yeah. Now, I do play a lot of Summon Negation in the deck. I do play double Grand Horn of Heaven. Grand Horn of Heaven is really, really good. If I did have a Solemn Strike, I'll definitely play Solemn Strikes over Grand Horn of Heaven. But this card is really good for the purpose where during your opponent's main phase, if your opponent's Pendulum summons, it basically then skipped into the battle phase. And then, you know what, that way your Dinomist monsters will be protected by battle, since, you know, it just skips to the battle phase and your opponent will only be able to attack with the monsters that they already had on the field. So Grand Horn of Heaven is really amazing for that purpose, and it also helps protect your Cyber Dragon affinity. So if your opponent tries to go with Castel or things like that, Grand Horn of Heaven is really, really good. So it's amazing. It stops Pendulum summons, it stops your opponent's special summon, XYZ summons, synchro summons. So Horn of Heaven is Grand Horn of Heaven is really, really good for that purpose. And I felt like having summon negations in the deck is really, really key in this deck. Since you always want to see your Dinomist monsters on the board as much as possible. So double Grand Horn of Heaven is really good. But if you guys want to play Solemn Strikes, you guys can definitely go ahead and sub these 2 cards out for Solemn Strikes. And through testing, this card is amazing. I'll usually have boards with like Rex on the field, and, you know, having 2 scales or things like that. Like I'll have double Rex or like Infinity on the field. No, I'll have a Rex, Infinity on the field, and having Dinomist Charge and 2 scales and 1 Grand Horn of Heaven and a Grand Horn of Heaven set. That's already such an amazing board. So you know what, you're assuring yourself that your monsters will stay alive is really, really killing. Is really, really key. So it's really important to play Summon Negations of the deck. So double Grand Horn of Heaven. Next, I do play 1 Horn of Heaven. This card is absolutely amazing, especially in comboing off with Dinomist Rush, Dinomist Charge. This card is essentially a free Solemn Warning of the deck with Dinomist Charge, so that you tribute off the monster while charged on the field. Charge will essentially get to add it back to your hand. So Horn of Heaven is literally a free summon, and it serves the same purpose as Grand Horn of Heaven. You want to see your summon negations as much as possible, and you're always going to have board presence in this deck, unless you go into your XYZs, of course. So that's why I always explain that never always waste your resources going to your Infinity right away, because you have cards like this in the deck. So Horn of Heaven is really good. Next, play the 1 Solemn Warning. Absolutely amazing. You guys all know what Solemn Warning does. 1 Emptiness, 1 Bottomless, and last but not least, 1 Breakthrough Scale. Breakthrough Scale is really good since, you know, it stops the Nat Beast and it also baits out Cyber Dragon Infinity. So Breakthrough Scale is amazing for that purpose. So that's pretty much it for our traps. Now off to our side deck real quick, guys. Side deck is really self-explanatory, and it's really up to personal preference on the cards that you guys want to play in the deck. But here's what I have for the side deck. Of course, you do play triple Maxi. I do not play Maxis in the main deck, because sometimes it clogs, and it's either you play 3 Maxis or no Maxis at all. That's just my personal opinion. Double Imperial Wall, Cosmo matchup. The 1 Mystical Space Typhoon. I don't have a 3rd Twin Twister, but if I did, I would replace this for a 3rd Twin Twister. Double Cyber Dragon Core. And of course, the Chimera Tech, absolutely amazing. Of course, 1 Thunder King Ryo, absolute blowout against the Pepe matchup. The 2nd Breakthrough Scale, really good. And last but not least, 2 Effect Wheelers and 2 Side Blockers. This card is an absolute blowout. This card is one of my favorite side deck cards. Side Blocker is absolutely amazing. So basically, Side Blocker, his effect is that once per turn, you can declare 1 card name, cards with that name, and their effects cannot be used until the end of your opponent's next turn. So basically, if you summon this card and you call Dark Destroyer, and your opponent has a Dark Destroyer on the board, Dark Destroyer effects cannot be used. So basically, you can castel that card back into the deck. So Side Blocker is really amazing for that purpose. And you can always Pendulum summon out the Side Blocker, so he's really, really good. That's pretty much it for the side deck. I'm missing something. I would also side in a 3rd Wavering Eyes and cut out maybe maxi or something, or maybe a breakthrough skill or things like that. Yeah, that's what I would change in the side deck. Maybe cut off the Thunder King Ryo, or maybe the breakthrough skill, just for the third wavering, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the side deck. Side deck is always up to personal preference. You guys can play whatever you guys like. Let's go off to the extra deck. You do play the one Cyber Dragon Infinity. This card is absolutely gorgeous. I love this card. Card is so good. Shout outs to Victor Lamb and Lucas for hooking up with Cyber Dragon Infinity. You guys are absolutely amazing. So one Cyber Dragon Infinity, one Cyber Dragon Nova. If I could play double copies Infinity, I would. This card is just too good. So one Nova, one Infinity, one zen-maioh, one volcasaurus, one pleidies, one diamond, and one ptolmeus. Ptolmeus helps you go into pleidies, so which is really good. Especially if you open up if you have a board of infinity and pleidies on the board, GG, so good. Of course, you play one durendale, one gaia charger. Now off to level 4s, you do play the one castel, one dweller, one daigusto emeral, one number 1 on one side on arc, and last but not least, one norden and one Panzer Dragon to round off our whole entire extra deck. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you guys enjoyed this deck profile, please give this video a huge thumbs up. I'm sorry guys that I took this 25 minutes to explain all my card choices, but if you guys stayed for this long, I love you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. This is like an in-depth deck profile on my intake on Dinomist. So if you guys have any things that you guys want me to change, or any changes or suggestions that you guys want me to know, make sure you guys leave it in the comment section below. Make sure you guys let me know on how I did with this deck profile. Give me a thumbs up if you guys think this deck profile was great. If I did something wrong, please leave it down in the comment section below. If you guys give me positive or positive criticism or constructive criticism, that would be absolutely amazing, guys. Since because you know what, I never take your criticism in the wrong way, since you know what, your criticisms help me become a better person and help me make better content. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you guys subscribe for more deck profiles, pack openings, and of course YuGiOh Pro dual commentary. And this is Sam from Team SamHamTV signing out. Peace out, guys.